We're almost live. And we're live.
Okay, good evening and welcome back to our regular meeting for Monday, August the 9th. We're reconvening after being in camera. We have an addendum to add to our current agenda, item 7D, which is the Cascade Lower Canyon Community Forest Hope Board appointments. So I need approval of the August 9th, 2021 regular council meeting amended agenda to be adopted as presented. Moved in second. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Next item is the regular meeting of council minutes, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held June 28th, 2021 be adopted as presented. Moved in second. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. We have no delegations tonight. Next item is staff reports. And move over to Mr. Fortolowski for the first item, please.
Right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. The first item is an administrative housekeeping, and it relates to appointing me as the Deputy Collector, effective immediately. And that just allows for some flexibility as far as replacing or acting in the stead of the Finance Director should he or she be away on leave or circumstance so require.
Thank you. The motion reads, the council appoint Mr. John Fortolowski as Deputy Collector, effective immediately, for the purpose of conducting the municipal tax sales and collecting taxes on behalf of the District of Hope. And further, that council appoint Mr. Fortolowski as Deputy Director of Finance, effective immediately, to act on behalf of the Director of Finance when necessary. Moved and second. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Next item is a report from the Director of Operations, if you will, a brief one from the Legacy Program Policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is twofold. We've had the Legacy Program in place now for a number of years, and it initially started out as a donation-based program whereby residents or visitors to the community that had lost a loved one or wished to donate a site furnishing, such as a park bench or a picnic table, things of that nature, they could donate to the district and they would receive a tax receipt for their donation. At some point in time, it moved away from a donation-based program and it was more of a purchase program. So the intent of the revised policy is to really reflect reality as it is now. It's quite a popular program. Residents and visitors have been buying benches and picnic tables. And the second piece was that the costs associated for these items were outdated, and it was actually costing the municipality money to purchase these items and put them in, and the cost received from the purchaser wasn't covering that. So what we've done with the financial end of things is we've also moved it into the fees and charges bylaw so that any future revisions to the pricing can happen along with our regular bylaw amendments. So you'll see attached to the report is the basically the original policy that's been brought into our new policy format. And all of the items that are either crossed out and or in red are the changes. It's a short one-page policy, and the changes really just reflect what I've just described. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Dickin. I'll have a quick one here before I pass it over to council. I've had a couple of requests the last couple of days or inquiries. Have the vases arrived for the grave sites?
I'm not sure. I will check with the operations manager in the morning, and I can get that information out to council through John.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions from council? Scott, please, and then Bob.
Yeah, thank you. Through you. I guess my question is, where did we get off policy? Was it because it wasn't working? Or like, why was the current policy not being followed?
Mr. Mayor, through you, I really actually don't know the answer to that question. It was some time before I began employment here. I think that perhaps it was just there was a couple of items that needed to occur. One was the tax receipt from finance, and the other was a letter from the mayor, which was part of the policy. And maybe that was just a little bit too cumbersome. And at some point in time, that fell off the rails, I guess. I don't know when that happened, but obviously at some point in time, things shifted.
Okay, so I think that I wasn't around for the adoption of that policy either. I just assumed that they put that in place with the tax receipt, sort of to be a benefit to those that wish to emplace a memorial bench or whatnot. But in your experience in the time that you've been with us, it hasn't been a deterrent at all to have no tax receipt issued then. So moving forward with just straight purchases seems to be the way to go.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may comment, other communities that I've worked at, it's strictly been a purchase program. I've never seen one that was set up quite this way. And so we're not doing anything out of the ordinary here by changing it to a purchase program. It really reflects what other communities are doing.
Thank you. Just being consistent. Councillor Erickson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To you, Kevin, is this very popular? Or have you got quite a few requests going in, and where would you put all the benches and tables? Are you talking about the nature trails and on the park and along the streets, or I don't know, where would you put them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, typically the people that are purchasing the benches and the picnic tables, have lost a loved one for the most part, and they want to memorialize the individual in the community. So they typically have ideas where their loved one enjoyed going, or Memorial Park is very popular, of course, but as staff, we want to make sure that we're not over encumbering certain areas within the municipality. So we really encourage people to select locations that sort of spread out the furnishings, so that because really it is a memorial for their loved one, but two, it also serves as a usable site furnishing for our open spaces in the community. So we want to make sure that we're not overloading certain areas and not have benches and things for visitors and residents to rest in other areas of the community. So as staff, we work with the purchasers, to kind of guide them in where we would like to see some of these furnishings. And at the end of the day, there's always compromise, and they're the ones that are purchasing the item, and we want to make sure that they walk away feeling satisfied with how things have worked out.
Thank you, John. Or Kevin.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Dickin, depending on the area, does it depend on the type of benches? Because I believe down by the Coquihalla River, they're concrete. Is that not correct? I see a lot of people, I believe they're concrete down there. Is that correct? So depending on the area, different quality of bench you put in, or?
Not necessarily. Certain areas where we have high vandalism, we will try and go with a more robust concrete type bench. We'll recommend that to somebody who wants to put something in an area where we know, like if we were to put a wood bench, it may be on fire at some point in time. So, really we provide options to the customer about type of bench, type of picnic table, whether they want it to be universally accessible, that kind of thing. So it's really up to them to pick we have about 4 or 5 different styles that are available to us that we offer, and they have the luxury to choose which one they prefer.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further questions, the motion reads that the legacy program policy be adopted as amended this 9th day of August 2021. Moved and second. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Next item is a verbal report from our CAO, read the Coquihalla Flood Project.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, this is an update on our grant application process for 2 of the 3 areas of concern identified earlier this year, the Gardner Drive area and the Rotary Trails. Brian Lacasse is on the call and he'll be explaining some of the sketches. But first, let me say that for Gardner Drive, because of the requirement for statutory rights of way, we've undertaken a couple of consultation processes with the landowners that are affected. They've included providing draft sketches as we move through the process, consultation with me, and we also had an evening with the engineering team and the landowners affected on site, which was well received and resulted in a couple of more changes to the Gardner Avenue Coquihalla River project. The Rotary Trail project does not require any statutory rights of way that we're aware of, so that complication does not exist for that bit of land. If I could, I'd like to share my screen and maybe have Brian Lacasse, if you're okay with it, to just go through the sketches. You have the presentation I sent earlier, so you know the order. So let me attempt to share my screen here. All right, you should have it. Now. All right, Brian, it should be up.
I don't see it yet.
Council, do you see it?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, just a second here.
Are you using two screens in front of you?
No, one screen. A second here. Okay. Got it. Okay, I can see it. I can see it now, John.
Okay, go ahead. So I'll flip the slides for you.
Okay. This is one of the two projects we're working on. It's the projects we call Gardner Avenue Riverbank Protection Works. And what it is it's across from the Valhalla Dike. And why we're doing the project is to widen the river at this section. At the same time is to provide a bank protection works, because right now the cliff is so eroded that it's dangerous to walk on the top of it. There's actually air underneath areas where it has washed away and undercut the bank. So what we've done is we've looked at a 300-meter long stretch of river, which we wanted to widen. And not only that, with our group, we have fisheries biologists, and they suggested that it would be very advantageous and would also help advantageous to put in a fisheries channel. And this fisheries channel will actually help with funding as well, as definitely will help us the spawning of fish. So what we've done is, if you look at this, you can see the orange is the bank protection works, which is rock. And the blue is the fisheries channel. And what we're going to do is keep a part of the bank, we're cutting it down and we're going to create an island. So there's an island there that you can see. So what we're going to do is have a habitat on the island. We're going to have a fisheries channel, and we're going to have bank protection. And at the same time, we're widening the channel and sloping it back to provide more hydraulic capacity for a very tight reach through there and lowering flood levels. So what we've done is we've looked at it and we put in a trail at the top of it. And that's the, John, I guess it's the brown line in here. I can see, I don't think my cursor goes on it, but and between the trail and the rock riprap, we're going to have a planting bench where we're going to have plants and that'll be going up. So on one side of the trail, you're going to see the river, and you're also going to be able to go through the plants. So it'll be a kind of a nice landscape feature. The trail itself is very similar to what Whistler has in as a design. It's 4 meters wide. It's not, we're not looking at asphalt paving. We're actually looking at an eco paving. And that is a product that is a recycled material. What we also have decided to do is to lower the trail after talking to the owners of DL4, Lot 5, Lot 6, that they did not want a fence. So we lowered the trail down so that they have the existing ground they have now, and they have the same view without a fence that we are putting up. We've also said that we would put access up during construction so that they'd have gates to walk down a staircase to access it, and they're quite happy about that. The upstream end, it actually goes into the Mount Hope Road right-of-way. What we've done is started the project as far as hydrotechnical engineering and river engineering is we put in this large slot trench, which we fill with rock, which will actually benefit even just upstream if there's some erosion upstream. And the downstream end, we are ending in the park at this point. And on the park, we have options of cutting in alcoves for garbage facilities and for benches, so to make it a pleasant experience. We haven't included in any wooden platforms, but there was a discussion that this could follow later as an amenity that people could see the spawning fish if the fish use it. So this is the plan. Maybe just move to the next slide, John. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just going
Okay.
to do that. I'm going to do that. Okay, that hasn't come across yet. Just wait.
Okay.
Let me try to do this. I have no idea why it's not flipping slides. Okay, that's not it. Let me stop and I'll just try to fix this.
Okay.
I do apologize. It should resume the slideshow, but it's not doing it. I'm just going to reopen, okay?
Okay.
Just give me a sec. Okay. I have to first share my screen. Actually, no, I'll start the slideshow. And now I'll share my screen. I apologize. I'm not the techie guy that I should be, or normal person. Okay, now, there we go. I think I've got it. I'm going to the next slide.
Okay, awesome, perfect. Okay, so what you see here is 3 typical cross sections that slice through the riprap and the bank. And on the far left, it shows the typical one with riprap and going up to the top. You can see the green space in there, and that is that's a planting bench. And as I said, we lowered the trail down. It's 2 meters below the existing ground on the neighbor's property. And we've used lock blocks to secure it. And what we've done is this is the simple one that that we are going to be using in all areas that are pretty straightforward. What we're doing is we're really increasing the hydraulic capacity because the area of the channel is increased. The other one, I would go back now to the bottom, and at the bottom is a good indicator of what we've cut the bank down, and that's what you see on the left. So we're creating an island where the bank was almost as high as the trail before. We're putting in a fisheries channel with riprap underneath. Over the fisheries channel, and what we've done in the past is what we start doing is loading it up with gravel, so the fish have a gravel base. And we're working with our environmental consultant and biologist in order to plant it as much as possible on the riprap. Again, this has the planting bench at the top, and that basically that's the fisheries channel set. So we've and then the other one is very similar as well to the other. So we're just a little bit steeper, a little bit just to fit things in. If you want to go to the next one, John, can you go to the next one? Yeah, so we've had our fisheries biologist design the channel, and it's a series of riffle, weir, or pool, and we'll have these weirs, either log weirs or rock weirs, and we'll have them in the fisheries channel. And as I said before, there's a very positive thing about the fisheries channel is that it opens it up to other funding sources so that we can get the project paid for. And I think, okay, I think I can move to the next project, or should any questions on this one? Okay, I'll move forward on the next project. Well, everyone's familiar with the Rotary Park, and I just want to make sure you can hear me, right? John? Good, good. Okay, good. Rotary Park, where the boat launch is on the end, that's where it starts. We have a ramp that goes up on the dike, and that will facilitate people getting onto the dike. We'll have bullards there to prevent vehicles. And I didn't mention the Gardner will have bullards as well at the entrance and exit of the trail. So what we've done is we've wrapped it around. We do not want to go in any private properties. So we've wrapped the dike around it. And the top of the dike is green. And if you're familiar with dikes, it's roughly a 2-to-1 riprap slope on the river side. And this is the Fraser River, obviously, and this is the Coquihalla. And on the inside, we have a planted earth and all landscaped, so that homeowners will see a landscaped green dike in the back. One of the interesting things is we've discovered that there was an old fisheries channel that you can see in the lower part. And what we're going to do is remove some of the logs and put in proper weirs and clean it out so that we can make it into a proper fisheries channel. So that's also going to help us with approvals and funding because we're adding habitat. And also it could be considered as compensatory works by the DFO regarding building a dike. Because there is a section that is around the bend that's right at the bottom of the bend here. It does encroach onto the river, so we will need some compensatory work. So we're building this into it. John, if you can go to the next slide. That's a little further upstream. What we've done there is we're actually identified another fisheries channel opportunity that was an old flood channel. And so we would excavate that and build a fisheries channel in there. And I think that would be quite the amenity through the woods. For the most part, like most of the trails are all kept we're thinking of putting the trail around the fisheries channel and creating a habitat island in the center of it, which again will be a good lever to get funding. So very simply, what we've done is we've backed off away from the lots, and so that we're not up against the lots where we don't have to be, but we're far enough from the river to for the fisheries. And John, next one. So a little further upstream, because of the configuration of changing of the river and the changing of the configuration of the lots, we have some bends in the dike, and this then comes along and straight through. John, the next one. And then right at the upstream end where your golf course road, it terminates at golf course road. And we can have, people can get onto the trail, and we've looked at options of putting ramps off the trail to facilitate access. That access is there already so that they can connect with the trail. And by the most part, we're not touching the trail along the river. If people want to walk along the trail rather than use the dike, then that's fine. And but we're going to make sure that there's some connection between the two so that people can get on the dike, or they can get off the dike and go on the walking trail. So, and again, we'll have bullards on there to prevent any illegal vehicles getting on. I think that's the last one, isn't it, John, on this? Oh yeah, there's, okay. So that gives you an idea what the dike looks like. It's planted on one side on the left, and top width of 4 meters standard, and then has a riprap on the other side, on the Coquihalla River side. The other option we were looking at is in the tight spaces is where it's close to the river, is doing this option. But we're thinking now that we're not going to go there because of the additional cost and the issues with geotechnical. So we're still looking at that and looking at ideas for the tight sections. But by the most part, we may just go and use the Dike A option for all of it. So to give you an idea. I think that's the last slide on there, isn't it, John?
It is. I'll stop sharing this. Well, actually, I'll keep the screens up for council questions if they need to refer to them.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll open it up to council. If you have any questions, just go ahead and speak because I can't see everybody.
Hi, Brian, I want to thank you for contacting Communities in Bloom and the Rotary for about the trail with the changes, and that you would be willing to work to make sure any improvements we've done, you'd work. I appreciate you for taking the time and the consideration you did that. And also the fact, I like the idea of the bullards, for stopping. We have had a few issues with people, showing up with vehicles that shouldn't be down there at the Rotary thing and disrupting people. And anyway, I just want to thank you for considering all you have done this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Anyone else? You'll just have to speak up.
Yeah, it's Councillor Medlock here.
Thank you.
My question is just, where are we at as far as the overall process goes? What is the next step from here?
Okay, so where we're at right now, I'll just tell you quickly. So we did have a very comprehensive land and creek survey throughout for both projects. So we collected quite a bit of topographic information. And out of that topographic information, we generated these drawings, and we've gone through several iterations. And as John said earlier, we had a meeting with the concerned residents, and we made some changes to that would, I believe, satisfy them. At the same time, so we were working on it, really inextricably linked with the biologist, with the engineering, with the surveying, looking at the hydrotechnical river engineering, and a geotechnical engineer. And so this is the culmination of that. At the same time, we have Jim Armstrong, that is working on getting funding for this project. So all of us were working together, working with Jim. Jim's looking at the project. So where we are at this point is we will do some fine tuning to the drawings that you see here, based on the final geotechnical assessment, which I met last week, and he's pretty much satisfied to sign it off. I'm satisfied to seal it as a hydrotechnical engineer. And the biologist is putting together a report that will be submitted to the Ministry of Environment and the Environmental Ministry, FLNRO, and to DFO. And that report should be finished as soon as we finish the drawings. We also have another letter report which describes the design. So the letter report, the fishery or the environmental report, and the drawings will be used as support documentation for Jim to put together the funding applications. And so that's where we are. We're really close. I would hope that it's a week away to get this thing finalized, ready for submission.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, there we go. Heather.
Thank you, Mayor Rob, through you. I'm wondering where we're at with the consultation with First Nations, as well as a silly question, because I just don't understand. So when the work is done on one side of the river, what happens to the other side of the river? Does this promote further erosion on the other side of the river, or does it somehow mitigate the damage that's being done? And sorry for my ignorance.
Well, no, that's a good question. First of all, let's talk about Gardner. What we're actually doing at Gardner, we're actually expanding the river in that section. So in fact, it's going to be a positive change in lowering the flood levels. And when you lower the flood levels in tandem, you usually have the velocities go down. So what we're doing on the Gardner side is definitely a benefit to Robertson subdivision. On the other project, the Rotary, we do have a setback dike that is so far set back that we're providing quite a bit of floodplain. And also the golf course is so wide there that the velocities are relatively low anyway. Close to the end of it, we're getting close to the river, but all our hydraulic studies show that the partway up to the golf course bridge, the Fraser River would come up during design anyway. So it would just backwater up there. So really, we've taken into consideration the transfer risk. So yeah, but that's a very good question.
And where are you at with consultation with First Nations?
Mr. Mayor, maybe I can speak to that. We'll be seeking letters of support. And of course, the ministries will be advising on what their process requires, and they'll be undertaking, as I understand it, some of their own. But we're doing this in stages. For example, we need to have the statutory rights of way signed, or the project's a no starter. So once we cross that bridge, metaphorically speaking, then we'll be moving on. But you're absolutely right, Councillor Stu and Mr. Mayor, that First Nations consultation and support where possible will be sought.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Erickson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Brian. Brian, with the dike in place on the Coquihalla River down at where it meets the Fraser, will that help the flooding on the end of Whartle? Does it go around enough so it won't flood as much there on Whartle as it has in the past?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, at first, we wanted to obviously keep extending raise Whartle Road all the way along the Fraser. This ends like in a fishhook, so to speak. It goes past the the boat landing or the boat in, yeah, the boat in, what do you call it, boat ramp. It goes across the boat ramp and goes further. So what it will do is it will stop all water going over 7th Avenue. So anything going over 7th Avenue will be stopped. So in the model, it showed that water would go through over the properties in 7th Avenue, flood Wardle and flood. We're basically we've adjusted the fish hook or the end of the dike in order to actually, we're bending it out slightly so that when the Fraser River is coming in, we're trying to point it back into the Fraser. As far as running, we're not, I think that's a later project, and John and I had talked about it, is that now the Fraser's a little bit different, obviously a different river, and we would need to do more studies of the actual river, like more bathymetry, meaning we'd have to have it surveyed by boat with the sounders, and then we would design a dike that would go down Wardle or raise Wardle Street. This does mitigate flooding to an extent, but it doesn't give you 100% flooding protection on Wardle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I think that's it, Mr. Lacasse.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. We
Thank
look forward to the next steps.
Yes.
Next item is 7D, the Cascade Lower Canyon Community Forest Hope Board appointments. The resolution reads that council endorses the following individuals to represent and be appointed to the Cascade Lower Canyon Community Forest for the CLCCF 2021-22 fiscal year. John Mason as the director and John Fortolowski as an alternate director, and that council authorizes the mayor to formalize the above appointments via a short resolution signed by all three shareholders of the Cascade Lower Canyon Community Forest. Moved and second. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. There are no committee reports. The next item is mayor and council reports. I'm going to start off tonight with the discussing a little bit about the community signage plan that was presented to us way back in June by Chantal Ouellette. Tonight, I'm looking forward to a council endorsement. So the resolution reads that council authorized the allocation of $300,990 from the COVID restart monies for the completion of phase 2 and 3 of the community signage plan. I have a mover and a seconder. Any discussion? Councillor Erickson. And then Councillor Stewart, and then Councillor Medlock.
So I have a question. It says council authorized Advantage Hope to receive the money. Why would Advantage, who's going to do the work? Who's going to put the signs?
Mr. Mayor.
Is Advantage Hope going to put the signs up?
Mr. Mayor, I could respond, Mr. Mayor. That was amended, and the mayor read out a different resolution. The money is not going to Advantage Hope. Obviously, the district would work with Advantage Hope to see the plan through.
So that still hasn't answered my question. Is Advantage Hope getting the 300,000 plus, and the district's doing the work, or is Advantage Hope going to do the work?
Mr. Mayor, through you, the district is keeping the money, and the district is doing the work with Advantage Hope as a partner moving through the process. We won't be paying Advantage Hope for anything.
So what's Advantage Hope involved in it then? As a partner, what's the partner part?
They designed and came up with the plan, and obviously from an economic development and tourism point of view, they'll continue to advise, and we're working with the branding guidelines. So they came up with the plan.
Thank you.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. So my concern with this is the amount of time it would put onto staff. And I would like some form of clarification that this is not going to be a burden on staff and that they can easily manage the additional workload.
Thank you. I'll let Mr. Fortalowski speak to that, but we've had this discussion and he's comfortable with moving this forward. But Mr. Fortalowski.
I was muted there. This is a phased approach, which doesn't have particular timelines or end states. And perhaps Mr. Dickin could speak to how the work could be approached so that it's as little a burden as possible.
Well, we obviously recognize the value in the project, and we're currently working through actually phase one, the wayfinding signage. It does get fairly time consuming. However, we'll continue to work away at it. And as Mr. Fortalowski and you, Mr. Mayor, indicated, it's a phased approach. So, we're not expecting to accomplish this in the next year. So it's going to be something that's going to be probably a 2 to 3 year project before we see the end of it.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up then. So basically this motion is simply to secure the funds to ensure that they're available to complete the project in a 2 to 3 year timeframe.
That's correct, Councillor Stewart.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, and Councillor Medlock.
Thank you. My comment was I thought this was a good use of the COVID restart funds. Wayfinding signage is something that the community's needed for a long time. But as the tourists start to come back after the pandemic, some things have changed and some people haven't been here before. And I think that British Columbians are certainly going to be enjoying their backyard. So I look forward to having more tourists in the community. And I do think that the wayfinding signage and the rest of the signage plan will go to good use. One question that I thought of with the previous couple of comments there was about the COVID restart funding and timelines. Do we not have a deadline as to when those funds have to be spent? Does that fit our timelines for accomplishing the plan?
It does fit our timelines. Yeah, it's pretty flexible.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, we're good to go. Sorry, did I miss anyone else? Okay, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. My next item is my mayor's report is I just wanted to send out a big thank you to all the members of our volunteer fire department who have been contributing to fighting wildfires in Lytton, Spence's Bridge, and the Soyuz areas. We appreciate you representing our community during this fire season. And they sent a team of 2 and 1 tender, if I get it right, Councillor Medlock, a tender. And it's nice to have our community represented elsewhere to help. It's very important. I think it's a great thing. Upcoming community events, August 19th to 22nd, of course, is our chainsaw carving competition, and September 10th to 12th, Brigade Days. A lot of people have asked me about these 2 community events, and I'm glad to say at this time they are still planned. We will be following the provincial health guidelines for these events as they continue to change with the upswing in COVID infections. So we will do our best in community-wise to have these events safe and have them be successful. The COVID vaccinated clinic at the Legion will end after this Thursday, and then you will only have a choice to go to the hospital clinic, which will continue at this time, and we'll get information out to you as it changes. That's all I have tonight. Could I go to Councillor Dusty Smith this time, please?
Yeah, you touched on the events I was going to talk about there, so I'll leave it at that. I have nothing else to report. I've been on holidays, so it's been uneventful.
Okay. Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. It's been a great summer so far. I just attended the joint meeting with BC Heritage regarding the station house on July 6th. And otherwise, just That's about it. I do have a quick question for you, though. I'm wondering if you would be able to find out how many heat-related illnesses happened in our community over that heat bubble, just to see if there was an impact in our community.
Okay, I can do that through, I have a meeting with Fraser Health on Wednesday. And I'll bring that up. We do have numbers from the last cooling session at the high school. There was nobody attended. The previous one we had at the rec center for the 5 days for, what did they call that? The heat dome. There was 5. So they're not well attended, but we'll see what Fraser Health and comes up with, and we'll share that with you as well. As I said, my meeting is on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Erickson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the Zoom meeting with the Heritage people regarding the station house. And I came away a little bit disappointed. I was hoping something really important might come forward, but I didn't hear anything. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Councillor Erickson. Councillor Tron. You're having a busy summer. You're busy.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, just give you guys a quick Chamber of Commerce update. The Chamber reboot year is actually coming along with, we now have signed 50 new businesses join the Chamber's moving forward plan.
Very good.
If you want to check out the Chamber benefits and medical plans today by calling, or today or any day actually for that matter, by calling Karen Scalise at 604-869-9742. And the Chamber sidewalk sale is Saturday, August 21st from 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. in front of local businesses. For more info on that, you can contact Chamber Director Lorraine McDonald at Artisans Attic. And finally, the Chamber is also supporting the Communities in Bloom's chainsaw event. So looking forward to that event as well. And yeah, also to echo what the Mayor said, I just want to thank our volunteer firefighters as well. They're doing a great job and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tron. Councillor Midlock, please.
Thank you. At the end of July, while the Mayor was away, I got to greet the CEIB, the Communities in Bloom judges at Town Hall. It was a short visit because they had a very tight schedule. Victor was busy touring them around the community, but I was honored to do that. I think that's an excellent program that Hope has taken part in for a very long time, and we've done quite well with it. So look forward to hearing the results from the judges' report once that comes out. Yeah, I've been working with the Hope Motorsports Group to get prepared for Hope Brigade Days. They actually are having a meeting as we speak that I couldn't make because of this council meeting, but plans are getting finalized. It's good to hear that an event of some sort is definitely going to take place to carry it on, and of course with the restrictions in place, but they do have plans for music acts and things like that. Some things had to get canceled, like the ball tournament for this year, but there's still going to be an event, which is exciting. And yes, I've also been taking lots of phone calls regarding the station house and met with Arlene Webster from the coalition, and it's been busy last month.
Yes, thank you for your reports, Council. Next item is the Heritage Designation Repeal Bylaw number 1502. Before I bring forward the resolution, yes?
I didn't do a report.
Oh my gosh. I do that all the time to you, Vic.
Well, no, that's because there are too many Smiths, right?
I guess so. I don't have a good reason. I'll make you first next time.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. So, of course, like His Worship said there about the chainsaw carving coming up here in the Memorial Park. The food trucks will be First Nations and artisans at the place displays. 8 to 5 Thursday to Saturday, 8 to 1 on Sunday. Speed carving from 11 to 1 Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you're local, you might want to buy on Friday because Sunday usually the price is higher because other people come. So that this year, because of COVID now, we are concerned. So we are working with the district, and we're making bigger areas so people can go all around the carvers. So we get spaced out. We do want to be safe, putting on an event in the time. The program also will have great pictures and stories of the grandfather of carving of the late Pete Ryan. So the programs will be very well, they're very memorial, good keepsake for the gentleman that didn't put us down on the map. Also, the Communities in Bloom being restoring the chainsaw carvings around town. We are working on the 14th one right now. This makes a better product for the people of Hope and also the visitors. This plan for doing the maintenance is worked out between the District of Hope and Communities in Bloom to maintain this and keep the town looking better, you know, on a reasonable budget. Also toured the judges, Communities Bloom judges. It was a shorter visit, like 5 hours, so it was pretty condensed. But anyway, glad everybody that met with us. And even when they came, I took their temperature to make sure COVID, we're trying to be safe. They were impressed with that. And also Communities in Bloom has partnered with Hope Rotary and installed a wrap on the electrical box with District. On 3rd and Wallace, the wrap is of the Corbett Lumber Company. And there'll be a story attached in September, a story about the company and everything else, which would be, you know, very interesting in the town for a long-time family in the area. Also, attended the Heritage meeting with the other council and mayor. The library, Claire is our new library manager. She's from Abbotsford, and she's looking to sell and move here. So she wants to be very much a part of our community. So if you're going by the library, please stop and see her. It'd be nice to have somebody that's going to move and be a part of our town. So, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that extensive report, Councillor Smith. My apologies again. So next item, as I said, is the permits and bylaws, and I'd like to open it up before I bring the resolution to the table for anyone that'd like to speak to it or have any more discussion. As I said before, I bring it to the table. This is another opportunity. Councillor Medlock.
Yeah, I'm glad you're given the opportunity here. So I've obviously spent a lot of time thinking about this, as I'm sure everybody has. And as I brought up at a previous council meeting, I honestly don't think that this is the right thing to do. I don't think that repealing the bylaw is the right way forward. I believe that we have an opportunity here to take another look at options for the building. I think the hinging point for me was when Richard Lindsay and the Heritage branch gave us the information through Heritage Works and rendered their opinion on the heritage value of the station house. I don't know that I've heard enough from this council as to what the rationale is to not move that building to the Water Street location and look at the opportunity to rehabilitate it over time. I think we've had a lot of numbers thrown at us over the years with different scopes, different lenses, looking through different lenses at how that building would be restored. So we had one from Cost Consultants that was $1.93 million, but that was not a rehabilitation of a heritage building. That was basically bringing it up to current code. There's a lot of concessions that can be made, things that don't have to get done, that I think would reduce that cost. And then now, since we all got a letter over the weekend from Richard Lindsay and the Heritage Department is looking to help us out, it shows that they still do care about the project, and they're looking to give us $150,000 to put towards engineering and building a foundation to put the building on. And then they also mentioned the BC 150 time memorial funding that will be coming available. That's yet another opportunity. So for those reasons, I can't support the repeal of the bylaw. There is other reasons. We do have an OCP, which is the guiding document that council needs to take a look at. And in our official community plan, we do say that we're going to remember and celebrate our history by encouraging conservation and supporting the retention of significant heritage buildings and other historic buildings under the Conservation Act, which the station house falls under. The station house itself is mentioned in our OCP. I think going against that document just shows that we're not taking our official community plan seriously. So I just would love to hear again from everybody the actual rationale as to why you don't believe moving this building is a solid plan, or at least an option. Is it because we think we've gone too far and we have to see this through to the end? Because it's not about that for me. I feel like this is the opportunity to do something right and come up with a win-win situation where everybody involved can have a positive outcome. There is a solution. There is some middle ground. I don't feel that we've given this enough discussion to find that middle ground. I feel like we've had too many quick discussions that have led us towards demolition that haven't given us the opportunity to talk about preservation. So that's where I'll leave it for now.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Medlock. Anybody else want to jump in? Councillor Stewart. There you
Thank
go.
you, Mayor. Sorry. Yeah, so I've been up and down like a yo-yo on this one. And I mean, as of this morning, I was not in favor of repealing the bylaw anymore either. But then this afternoon happened, and now here we are again having another discussion. So I did count up the amount of hours I've put into just the station house. I'm over 400 hours in 7 years. And so to say that we haven't put any effort into this, maybe that's personal for some people, but for me, I have really put in a lot of effort into researching, discussing, consultations, and just a lot of effort on my part. So I like to say that for sure. As far as the OCP goes, I'm really happy to hear that now we are looking at using that as our guiding principles, because it wasn't that long ago that the OCP came up because someone wanted to put supportive housing along the Old Hope Princeton Way, which was by our OCP designated as providing services to the traveling public. So it's really nice to see that this is now coming up in discussions. Now, that being said, the fire hall and search and rescue are expected to be on the Water Street property as per our new facilities master's plan. And then we would then put the station house on that property. And for me, I'm seeing red flags, liability, 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 because tourists tend to stand in the middle of the streets and are not exactly paying attention. They're looking at the beauty of our community, which it clearly is a beautiful place. But in the event of an emergency, the emergency services, they need to get where they're going in a timely fashion. And so it doesn't make sense to me to put the station house on that same property if we are planning to have it for emergency services. Also being said, I really think that the district has a lot on its plate. We have the day-to-day operations as cemeteries, parks, recreation. We have, roads, water, sewer. We've got a lot of things going on. And so that's why council prioritizes certain things that they wish to accomplish. And currently our priorities didn't include the station house. And that's because after many, many discussions, the use of the land at Old Hope Princeton Way was no longer going to be an option. That led to an arrangement with the province where we came to an agreement. The property was not good, and we received financial compensation, and we agreed to remove the building, whether it be demolished or it relocated. So my hope was that someone would be able to take the building, a third party, and do something with it, do something productive with it. Again, I just think that the community, staff has a lot on its plate. And this is yet one more thing that they will need to oversee and manage. And I understand that the societies say that they're 100% backing this. They say we're not listening, but I have heard every single word that's been said. And they're saying that they want the building saved, but they want the district to continue ownership and management of that facility, which is, like I said, another project. And so I'm still flipping. I'd like to hear what other people on council have to say. And I do want to know, do we feel that we have consulted adequately with our First Nations communities and that we are complete with that we have done what we need to do there? So Councillor Medlock, this is where I am right now. I'm open to hearing the rest of the discussion of council. Undecided, and when the vote gets called, I have some reservations to not repeal this bylaw. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Councillor Tron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I can, along with all the other councillors, I've spent hours and hours and I've listened to the coalition. I appreciate all the effort, all the research. I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of their free time, which I can only begin to appreciate. But along with that, I also appreciate the history in this town. I grew up here. And we have many great artifacts that desperately need a new home. Financially though, the numbers just don't make sense to me at this point. And the research that I've seen through the coalition and a couple documents, they estimated that they can move the building and renovate it for anywhere between $600,000 and $700,000. I can't see how that's fiscally possible, especially with running into possible unexpected costs along the way. I know grants are going to be readily available for this, but grants are also very unpredictable. Federally and provincially, money has to be running out. I've heard and weighed the concerns of a new build will hurt the tourism industry or tourism population in this town. I believe that we have amenities along with our beautiful lakes and trails to not only maintain a strong tourism industry, but also continue to build it over the years. Along with the other councillors, I'm kind of welcoming to listen to everybody else's opinions before we make our decision on the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dusty Smith.
Yeah, thank you. I can appreciate everybody's comments on this as well. This will be my 7th year on council, sitting about it. When I got into the picture of the beginning of it on council, was the first topic was the station house. We're moving forward with a great project. I was bang on for it. Obviously, we got into the situation we're in now. This past year, staff has conducted a water master study, sewer master study, and road management study in the past couple of years. And seeing the numbers that we have in our facility and with our facilities master plan as well, seeing the figures that we have, it's going to be tough. Yes, we're going to either build a new building, or if we move this building over, we're going to spend some money on a tourism information center and museum. So no matter what, some money has to be spent somewhere. My hard part is what the numbers we've seen for our facilities that we currently have now, what this building could cost to continually regulate. And okay, we can get it up to snuff now. What's the maintenance on a wood building continuing forward? Like, a wood building is a very expensive building to continually maintain. I have a wood shop. It's a lot of maintenance on top of what we already need to put money into down the road. So maybe we do spend a little bit more money on a new building than what we would spend originally to get this building operational, but the maintenance costs could be continually less of maintaining the building. So the whole part of this discussion and pushing the consultation back a little bit more was for me to hope that there would be a third party situation in this. As Scott said, I was born and raised in this community. I hate seeing anything torn down or ripped apart that has so much heritage to people and memories and stuff like that. I've personally gone into that building and had brigade days meetings in that building way back in the day. I do have a tie to the building as well, that it makes it tough. But I think as the district and us being fiscally responsible with the district's money, I don't see this building being in our plans. For me personally, and for the community members that I've talked to throughout my shop within the community, I get the general consensus, other than the coalition talking to me, I get the general consensus that the town taxpayers do not want to pay for this building. They'd rather see something newer and move on from this piece. So that's where I stand on this part of it right now.
Thank you. Councillor Smith was next. Councillor Victor Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I want to thank them for their passion for the station house. And the station house has almost been 40 years, and it's got a lot of great things. It's a great piece of thing. And I would like to see it this time, to see the option of a third party to own the thing. It's going to be high maintenance and everything else. You have to realize not just a museum here, but the fact that we have 3,500 artifacts that were given to us by families and different people to keep in our museum. And if you look at the one in Lytton, they said they're about seeing the one in Lytton. The Lytton's burnt to the ground with all of the artifacts in it that can't be replaced. That's so sad, because it's sad for the building, but also the artifacts, because we can't get it back. We need to build something that's safe, low maintenance, and protect our heritage that we've got from all these people too. I do appreciate the fact that they talk about the interacting with young people, come to our museum and everything else. I think that's great. Absolutely. Fully on board with it. But with the climate change and everything going on, insurance rates and everything, because it's a fire hazard and stuff like that, we need to make something that's going to preserve the stuff and keep it safe for our future, for all the stuff in there. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Erickson, are you wanting to speak at all?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This project has been on my mind like for 7 years, like some of the other councilors have said. And originally I was really in favor of getting something really nice on that location. And I put a lot of effort, a lot of work into trying to figure out how to make that location a beautiful location coming into town. But then over the years, things have changed a lot with costs and financing. And then with the idea of moving it to Water Street, I do not think that's a good location at all for this building at all. I would really like to see a third party come in. Like I told someone today, if someone wanted to buy it from the district, I'm sure we'd sell it to them fairly cheap. They could come and move it to another location. If someone wants to preserve the building, I think it would be if they want to put the money into it and preserve it, I think it's a great thing for them. And I've suggested several areas where I think it could go, but a piece of property has to be bought for it. I don't think it's a good fit for the district to put it down on Water Avenue. That's a very beautiful piece of property that we could use for other things, other buildings. So for me right now, that's where I'm sitting.
Thank you, Councillor Erickson. Let me throw in something first, Scott, and I'll come back to you. I can't add a lot of new items to what's already been said, but the OCP to me is a living document and it's constantly changing. So you're going to see things that are different and that come and go from the OCP. So I don't buy that argument. A third party, if I was a third party and you look into it, I wouldn't want the designation. I can't modify the building the way I want. There'd be too many restrictions. So then I would prefer to have the heritage portion removed from the building for a third party to have a look at it. We could redesignate it if we found another site in our community and make it a heritage site again in the new position, in the new location. We could look at taking it up to where Mr. Lindsay recommended, to maybe to Lytton, see if they're interested. There are other options. It's not just about demolition for council. And we've said that from the beginning. It's about removing it from the property where it is now. And what does that mean? It means demolition or relocating. And most of council, from what I hear, does not agree with the Water Street relocation. And that's where we're at right now. First Nations consultation. I've done it personally with Chief Peters on several occasions. She does not want the building, and that property is their traditional property, if you will. And she's looked at it and said, no, thank you. Please take it off as you're required to do by the province. And that's where we're at. I'll leave that for a moment and go to Councillor Medlock. I've lost my train of thought.
Thank you. If I could just bring up a couple of the points that were brought up there, and I appreciate everybody's discussion. On the location at Water Street, I think you, Heather, your Councillor Stewin, you brought up a reason why you don't think that's a good property, and that's kind of what I was looking for is reasons other than don't think it's a good fit. To me, that's not enough of a reason. I need to hear more than that. So your reason was that, you know, emergency services next to a tourist information center, and I understand that rationale. I just want to point out too, though, that the search and rescue building's been next to what was the tourist center museum for decades. It was never thought of being a problem back then. I don't think that there would be really much issue there myself, but we're all entitled to our opinions. About staff being busy, I agree. There was an opportunity to have another couple people that would like to present to council, and maybe the opportunity is still there for them to do so in September, with, I think, a model that would actually be beneficial to everybody. It would basically be a third-party management. Council would, or the District of Hope would maintain ownership of the building, and be landlords to a third party that would we would pay a property management type situation to handle the project manager to handle the project. And I think that's the best way forward. Somebody that has expertise in heritage conservation that would be able to see the project through. I hope that there's still an opportunity for these people to present in September. I brought up their names in an in-camera meeting in the past, so hopefully you can read between the lines there. You know, I often think, I mean, my decision-making process has changed over time as well. I've been involved in this project for a long time, just like everybody else. And I ask why I was in favor at one time. And originally I was in favor of fixing up the station house in a phased approach over time. For me at that time, it was more about cleaning up that gateway entrance property. The heritage value of the building didn't play much of a role in my decision to want to see that happen. And when we were told that the project couldn't move forward, I was certainly disappointed with that because I wanted to see that property cleaned up and looking good. And like I said just before when I was speaking, the part that changed for me was when the provincial heritage department let us know what they thought on the value of the building and what that meant. And it made me think, you know, like maybe those from the coalition and then the societies and others that have talked to us and the letters that we've had, maybe they did get to me, and made me realize that once we do make this decision, especially if it's to demolish eventually, we can't go back on that. So I guess I'm holding some hope that we can still come up with a solution, and that heritage is important to this community, and that if we repeal this bylaw, yes, it can be put back on. But I think, you know, like I say, Director Lindsay there from the BC Heritage Branch has offered us some help. And I think that the help would continue to come. That wouldn't happen if that heritage designation was lost. I think that is a key point that hinges on availability of funds and grants, is needing that. So if this needs to happen because it needs to happen because the building's already got a plan to move, then that's a different time to be adopting the bylaw. But I don't think that we've explored all of those opportunities yet. So that's why I'm still not in favor of this. OCP. So you're right. OCP is a living document. I know that I have been in favor of a supportive housing unit on Old Hope Princeton Way. I picked up what you were laying there on there, Councillor Stewin. But at that point, I believe the living document, how it works for change as it is through a process where there's OCP amendments. There is no OCP amendment to take that part of our OCP out that says that we're no longer going to consider heritage. The process with supportive housing was different in that there was an OCP amendment presented to council for decision. That is how an OCP becomes a living document. Whenever there's a rezoning, if it does not fit the OCP, we bring it forward for discussion and notification to the public because it is a public document. So I think that's a very different distinction between what's happening here and what's happened in the past with OCP amendments in the living document. Today, the OCP still says that we are going to consider heritage, and that is a goal of ours. And I think that we need to maintain that goal. If we don't, who will? Everybody says they have some sort of connection to this building. It is just a building after all, but we have made a decision as council in our OCP to consider that. And we have an obligation to do that, to uphold what we have decided upon. And the public, that OCP is a very public document. I have a question for Mayor Rob. I know you've spoken in the past about you've had discussions with Chief Peters. I'm curious about the context of that discussion. Have we ever had an opportunity to have a brainstorming session with Chief Peters or anybody else from Chihuahua or Stolo Nation about opportunities with that building in its current location? Perhaps to be a cultural center or something, a partnership agreement between the province, the district, and First Nations. I don't know if that's taken place, but I'm just thinking out loud that maybe that would be another opportunity to have a different type of discussion instead of just, would you like the building to do something with? That's just a question.
Okay, Mr. Fortolowski, do you remember when the two of us, I don't know the time frame here, we went and addressed their council at Chihuahua, and we talked about the station house way back then, and we talked about some other land issues, but that was part of a conversation before COVID. When COVID came along, it was done by phone, and then I talked to her. At a function we went to for a ceremony, and I talked to her then again. And so I've had at least 4 conversations with her, and some of her council members were in the room as well. Have I got that right, Mr. Fortolowski, for the council? Do you recall?
Yeah, as far as my recollection, Mr. Mayor, and we did discuss items like cultural center and
We did, cultural center.
items like that.
Yeah. She talked to me about putting up not a cultural center, but a convention center type thing, or a community hall type thing for all the communities to get together on that corner. But the station house wasn't part of that. So I feel I've had some great discussions. It's not just been offhanded. So I'm comfortable with the conversations we've had and the feedback, including from the elder there, Mrs. John. I've lost her name, sorry. Heather knows from Purple Knights.
Purple, or it's Patricia.
But thank you, Pat John. Yes, thank you, the elder. She was contributing in the meeting as well.
Thank you for answering that. Appreciate it.
And was there something else there that I missed, Councillor Medlock, or was it just that was it for your question on there? Okay, I know. Sorry, Councillor Stewart, go ahead.
Okay, I'm willing to play with Councillor Medlock for a moment. Okay, so the liability that may just come from having a long line of insurance agents in my life, and they're always risk management, right? And yes, they've been beside search and rescue, but it hasn't been beside search and rescue and a fire hall at the same time. So I'm willing to give a little on the liability. The other thing I'm curious about is this concept of several groups or societies getting together to manage the building. So they want to have tourism the Info Center and the museum housed in that building. Is that correct in my understanding? And if so, does that now include Advantage Hope, who is our current tourism contractor? How does that all come together so that it works?
Depending which group you're speaking to, I believe it's different. One group's talking about a restaurant as well. Are they not?
Are you asking me?
Sorry, I guess I just threw that out there, but whoever can answer my question, I guess. Councillor Medlock, are you wanting to respond to Councillor Stewin? Is that? Maybe
I can sort of respond. I certainly don't want to make a presentation on behalf of a group that has an interest in it. It's a different group that's presented in the past. And I feel like if there's any doubt in your mind on repealing this bylaw, hold off for now until we can have opportunity to hear from another group, because there's perhaps a win-win workable situation here. Mind you, the key point is the Water Street property. If that is an absolute deal breaker for the rest of council, then it's all for nothing. But I wouldn't want people to assume that it's a deal breaker until they hear this plan, because it could be a workable plan. The people involved have some credibility. They have some history. And I think it's a potential option, but I don't want to be the presenter because I would totally screw it up. It's not my plan. I've just heard from them and I think it's a good one. It's the best one I've heard.
What I have a problem with is here we are again at the 11th hour. Where were these organizations years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago? And now here we are with another group coming forward that has another plan. So that would be a third group potentially. Is that right, Councillor Medlock? Are they a hybrid of some of the other groups?
I think it's a bit of new and a bit of hybrid.
Yeah. Councillor Erickson.
Yeah, this group is out in the public. I heard about it today from a couple of people. This group is out in the public speaking, so it's just not an in-camera thing. I don't know how it got out in the public, but they want the Water Street Avenue place, just like the Heritage Building does. And I think that's the thing that we as council have to make a decision on, because the location, all we did at that Heritage meeting when we were on Zoom on July 6th, we talked about what the building could produce and what could be done in the building. That to me was just useless, because if you don't have a location for it, why talk about what you're going to do in the building? Location is very important. If we can move the building to another location and it's not on Water Street, I'd be more than willing to keep it. But if it's going to Water Street, there's not a chance that I'm in favor of moving that building to Water Street. That property, the District of Hope needs for its other facilities. We have so many old facilities in this district. We don't need another one moved onto that facility where we're going to be working and maintaining it for years and years and years. It's an old structure. Old structures cost lots of maintenance, And I wish it would go to another, I want it to go to another location. And I think you're right, Mr. Mayor, if the heritage status is removed, it would be a lot better for a private person to come pick the building up and move it to another location. And then they could put a pub in or whatever they wanted to put into it. And it wouldn't be restricted to heritage status.
Councillor Medlock, then Councillor Stewin.
Is there another third party that's interested in the building without the heritage status? Is that not the same as having another person coming and presenting to council if there is somebody else interested? I don't understand why we wouldn't want to hear more options. When I'm making a decision, I want to hear as many options as I can.
Well, Scott, the person that you've been mentioning, their idea is Water Avenue. That's what I heard twice today. Their idea is Water Avenue and only Water Avenue. They're not interested in any other location. That's what I've heard. Now, I haven't talked to them, and this is just what I've heard through the public.
Councillor Stewin.
So thank you, Mayor Rob. This has been a great discussion. Thank you, everyone. I am now moving towards repealing the bylaw, supporting the repeal of the bylaw. For the reasons that Water Avenue is the desired intent for these groups. I'm still hung up on the liability. I haven't come down from that high horse yet. And I'm concerned now that the number of groups that are going to try and get along to do something with this building. Quite honestly, I like what you had said, Mayor Rob, regarding the repeal of the bylaw, being able to be redesignated at a future date should it be required. But as it stands, I believe that it's the best way to move forward tonight is to repeal the bylaw. I'm speaking in favor.
Yes. Any other councillors wish to speak? Okay, I'm going to read the resolution that the District of Hope Heritage Designation Repeal Bylaw number 1502/2021 be adopted this 9th day of August 2021. Moved. Second. Please hold your vote up longer. All those in favor? One opposed. Councillor Medlock. Carried. Thank you.
Excuse me, Councillor Medlock, did you want your opposition listed?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, Council Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 1508, that the District of Hope Council Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 1508/2021 be read a first, second, and third time this 9th day of August 2021. Moved and second, thank you. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next item is a report from Brittany Eklund, our planner, regarding the zoning amendment bylaw number 1509/2021 at 560 Yale Street.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the proponent is proposing to rezone the property at 560 Yale Street from single-family residential to single-family residential with a secondary suite. They're choosing to do this in order to subdivide the parcel into 2 lots. The reason for the rezoning is based on lot orientation and setbacks. They wouldn't be able to get the 2 lots without requiring variances. And the RS2T, RS2T zone allows for a smaller frontage. So if this gets first and second reading and goes on, if approved, the lot orientation, which currently faces onto Yale Street, will actually flip and go onto Thacker Avenue as it's longer on that side.
All right. It reads as follows: that the District of Hope zoning amendment bylaw number 1509/2021 be given a first and second reading in order to rezone the property at 560 Yale Street from single family residential RS1 to compact single family residential with a second suite RS2T, and further that the residents and the public be notified of the public hearing to consider this bylaw in accordance with the District of Hope application procedures and public hearing information meeting procedural bylaw number 1393, the Local Government Act, and the Community Charter. Moved, thank you, and a seconder. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. The next item is the from our Director of Corporate Services, fees and charges for the amendment bylaw number 1510.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a number of schedules within our fees and charges bylaw that are proposed to be amended. They're outlined in the report. So our RCMP fee services are looking to do a small incremental increase, and they've been doing it over a number of years in order to line up with other communities and detachments. But also there's been an increase in procedure knowledge in the forms in doing the work for the police checks and the visa certifications or applications. So I think that one was just a $5 increase in each one. Then the cemetery fees and legacy program fees. It is outlined that the district supplies vases. In the past, we haven't had increases or been allowed for that. Our Director of Operations is here to speak if council has any in-depth questions about the vases and the legacy program. And the legacy program will then outline the different types of benches and picnic tables and pads that are available. The water, sewer, and service connection, there is an increase in the driveway access permits to cover the staff time and process. And as well, our director, if you need, can provide clarification on the pollution control center for the disposal of wastes there. And I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, other than the modular storage unit policy variance, we've brought through a few amendments to that policy. However, the amendment or variance for that policy is much less significant than a development variance permit. So we're looking to implement a smaller fee for that.
All right, thank you. Question from Councillor Erickson and then Councillor Medlock.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Donna. On number 5, where it says, I guess it's page 40, where it says liquid waste disposal at pollution control center, $47.50 per cubic meter plus administration fee. Shouldn't the administration fee be documented? Because that could be quite a flexible fee if it's not documented.
That's a good question, and it is documented on the Schedule A, which isn't being amended, but I believe, I don't have it in front of me, it's 20% to a maximum of 500. So it is included on our Schedule A under administration.
Okay. In this document?
It's in the original bylaw.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I didn't see anything there. That's
No,
all
we're
I
not
need.
changing it. So it is on our Schedule A, so that's a good discussion point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Medlock, please.
Thank you. Schedule L with the Hope Solid Waste Management fees, the set out setback, that's where people that can't bring their garbage cans to the curb are having that service done for them. I understand legal opinion on all that. Is that a service that's even used? Is this something that is going to potentially stop?
I can respond to that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to say, we just had this conversation, but go ahead.
Yes. So yes, recently we have had our first request for the set out setback service. And, based on the feedback that we got from the solid waste customer, we did get a legal opinion on some of the concerns that the individual had with our forms and documentation and our process. And, the general feedback we got from a legal standpoint is it doesn't bode well for the municipality to charge a fee for the service, because it can be seen as being punitive to somebody that has physical mobility issues. So that's the reason we are still continuing to provide the service. We're not removing the service. It's just removing the fee and the fees and charges bylaw for the service.
Good.
Thanks for the answer. Appreciate it.
Okay. Was there anyone else? Okay, thank you.
I can, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
I can provide an update to the question that was asked earlier about the vases. We do have the vases in stock now, and so they are available to the public, and for the reasons outlined in the fees and charges update, it'll be a well-received addition to the cemetery.
Thank you very much for getting back so quickly. The motion reads that fees and charges amendment bylaw number 1510, 2021 be ready first, second, and third time this 9th day of August, 2021. I have a mover and a seconder. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item is the for information correspondence. That for the information correspondence list dated August the 9th, 2021 be received. Thank you. Moved and second. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next item is the accounts payable check listing for the month of June. That the accounts payable check listing for the period of June 1st to 30th, 2021 be received. Moved and second. And then accounts payable check listing for the month of July 2021, that the accounts payable check listing for the period July 1st to July 31st be received. Moved and second. Any discussion? Councillor Smith.
Yes, through you, Mayor. There was some refunds on certain people I see on the pay list, Ms. Bellingham. Could you explain what those were?
Yeah, some people double paid their property taxes. Either the bank paid it and then they didn't realize the bank was still paying their taxes through their mortgage. So they paid them as well. So we did that refund. As well, some people have been participating in the monthly deduction. So they're prepaying for the taxes throughout the year. Some of them had a substantial credit sitting there. So rather than have it sitting and continuing to add to it, we've at their request refunded the money.
Good. Thank you for the clarification, because I know we're looking at it and it was confusing. Thank you.
Yep.
Did you get a check, Councillor Smith?
No.
Okay. Oh no, Bev would pay the taxes. That's right. There's no other pertinent business. Question period. Normally we would do due to the COVID-19 pandemic, council meetings are closed to the public. However, the public can email questions and or comments to the Director of Corporate Services. But tonight, Mr. Ward has joined us and he may have some questions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I just wanted to say thank you to Councillor Medlock for the time that you've spent talking to me on the telephone, and for your considered and insightful comments tonight, and for your respect for our heritage. And I just also wanted to point out to you that I've been told that no further delegations regarding the station house are actually allowed at council from now on. So I wanted to, I know I sent a letter to you all, but I wanted it to be on public record. And so I'm going to read that letter now.
Mr. Ward, you can ask, you're not going to read the letter. It's part of our package. It's in all the councillors got it, and it's in our public correspondence. This is the time where you can ask a question related to the agenda tonight.
Okay, fair enough. My main purpose is to communicate my concerns regarding the process that has been followed in relation to the repeal of the heritage designation. What we've actually heard tonight, apart from Councillor Medlock, we've actually heard absolutely nothing about the heritage value of the property. And that's what the heritage bylaw is actually about. We've heard plenty of arguments for where the building should go, where it can't go, who has money and who doesn't. But actually, the heritage bylaw is related to whether the building has significant heritage or not. And that's been proven beyond any doubt whatsoever. So my question is, considering that the Ombudsperson last week confirmed to me that in his opinion, it appears that legislatively the council has not adhered to the legislation for the public hearing that was gone through for the station house, how can you proceed with the repeal in good conscience, knowing that it hasn't been carried out in a fair way and in accordance with the legislation?
We have not heard anything back from the Ombudsman after we got the letter stating that the file was closed and we had complied with everything that he asked of us. We have followed all our regular policies and procedures for public hearings and gone way above and beyond, meeting with your group, the Heritage Branch. You've delegated, I think it's been 5 times, the different groups, or maybe even be 6 times for delegating. There's been more than enough, way beyond what we normally do for a public hearing. So I feel we've done everything we can do to follow the rules, and that's why we've moved forward.
With respect, this was a separate complaint, as I outlined to you in the email that I sent out recently. This is a complaint sent to you on May the 3rd, lodged with the Ombudsperson. This is entirely separate to the previous complaint. And as I confirmed, just a few minutes ago, the BC Ombudsperson has said that it appears to him the district has not followed the legislation for the public hearing, and that the report
In
that
what-
the district put together is not adequate.
In what area did we not follow the legislation?
Okay, the areas that you did not follow the legislation, there is absolutely no reference to the relevant sections of the IOCP as required in section 613 of the LGA. There was extremely sparse coverage of the heritage information pertaining to the building, which was deemed to be inadequate by the BC Ombudsperson. Despite the stated intention to produce a report about the future economic viability of the station house, that was not done by the district, despite me contacting the district several times to request that report. That was not done. And also the condition of the building stated in the report was inaccurate.
Well, as far as our staff and our legal and myself, I feel in the conversation we've had that we fulfilled our obligation. And
Well, I disagree, and so does the BC Ombudsperson. So
we have not heard from the Ombudsman. Otherwise, we would have not proceeded further tonight. But we've moved forward, and we'll see what the next step is. The building's not going to be demolished tomorrow or the next day or the next day. There's still other opportunities. Okay. Did you answer? I may not have answered the question to your liking, but I did answer the question. Okay.
So can I just clarify, are more delegations allowed to the council meeting or not? If people want to hear alternative options for the station house?
Right now, I'd say no. With the recent policy that was put in place, we've heard all from everything, and it's time to make a decision on the adoption, and we did. Unless I'm missing something from staff, can correct me, but okay. All right. Thank you for your time, Mr. Ward. Motion to adjourn.
Well done.
Thank you. Moved in second. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, council.